争い合って壊れかかったこのお茶目な星で生まれ落ちた日からよそ者涙枯れ果て
Good morning. I interviewed Sir Lloyd de Labahan, one of my teacher when I was in senior high. I first asked his permission for this interview through chat and he said yes. First question, what branch of education do you belong to? He answered, senior high school or upper secondary school. Second question, for how long have you been teaching? He answered, 7 years in teaching. Third question, for someone in the profession of teaching, what are some of the biggest challenges have you ever faced? He answered, the biggest challenges for me was the modular distance learning. That would be all. Thank you.
So hello everyone, this interviewee is my sister Maria Bianca Camille, currently teaching in 4th State Elementary School. She's a guidance teacher who's taking a master degree now. She's been teaching for 8 years as of now and she's kinda enjoying what she's doing. She said the most challenging to her is to teach in the secondary level as a computer teacher. By the way, it's her major. However, she was absorbed in elementary school where she interned for a half a year.
Sir Dominic Raimundo Morales. I greet him first and after that, I ask him if it's okay to him to conduct interview and he agreed immediately. Then I'll send to him interview teacher to have taught for at least 5 years. Then Sir Dominic Raimundo Morales replied that he teach almost 7 years at San Ramon Elementary School at Malig, Isabela. I'll send second question, which is what they consider to be the biggest challenge in their life as a teacher. Then he said, as elementary teacher, we cannot deny that the biggest challenge that we can consider is how we handle our student regards their attitude and how we make our responsibility clear and true. Then after that, I'll chat him if it's okay if I have follow-up question and he replied yes. This is the follow-up question. How do you motivate those who take educator courses? Then he answered, for simply saying that no matter what happened, just focusing to your course. Even though there is many challenge, always remember that if you pursue your course, you are the first beneficiary of it. And after that, I thank him. Sir Alvin Kling Guadela Delfin. I greet him first and after that, I ask him if it's okay to him to conduct interview. And he say yes. Interview for what? Then I'll send interview teacher who have taught for at least 5 years. Then Sir Alvin said he teach 6 years at Bimonton Integrated School at Malig, Isabela. Then I'll send next question, which is what they consider to be the biggest challenge in their life as a teacher. Sir Alvin said, if you are referring to the in which we use the modular distant learning, well, I can definitely say that it is really hard for him to determine the ability of a learner. I cannot assess the learner capability of a learning through assessment because mostly parents are the one who answers it. Then I'll send my follow-up question, how do you motivate, sir, those who take educator courses? Sir Alvin said, teaching is really hard job, especially that you will be facing a diverse student. And as a teacher, you have to know all their weakness, strength, interest, and needs in order for you to become an effective and efficient teacher. Giving lots of activities and different ways of teaching to catch their attention would be a great thing so that they will always listen to you. And just in case that you have a SPED student, you have to give him her special treatment like giving more activities that is rooted into her interest. Every student has their own way of listening, so don't get mad or get interrupt. If they are doing unnecessary things during your class, some might be looking outside, writing, looking for others, but believe it or not, they are still listening to you. My dear educator, nothing is hard actually in teaching as long as you love, embrace and put into your heart what you are doing, then nothing is hard and it will go easy always. Besides, you will become proud of yourself someday when your past students become professionals. Always put this into your mind that the main objective of a teacher is to produce competent learner, and you should always apply the core values of education. And after that, I think for him and him time to answer all my questions.
気づいた誰が決めつけ
I have interviewed my uncle named Denel Beltran, who is a secondary education teacher. According to him, he is already teaching for 3 years. The biggest challenge he have mentioned was the online games addiction of the students. Also, he added this was caused by the pandemic and it is a challenge for him on his teaching career. What branch of education do you belong to?
I am from public school and elementary teacher. I am a grade 1 teacher.
For how long have you been teaching?
I am teaching for almost 29 years. My 29 years is on June 29 of this year.
For someone in the profession of teaching, what are some of the biggest challenges that you have ever faced?
One of the biggest challenges that I have encountered is as a grade 1 teacher, when the child or the children comes to us, the biggest challenge is let them how to let them read, because when a child comes to us, there is nothing. There is nothing in him. So the biggest challenge is to let him or her read before he left grade 1. And the other challenge also is to make the classroom conducive to them. As a public school teacher, we sometimes shell out, or almost all the time shell out money from our pocket to make the classroom conducive to learning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
争い合って壊れかかったこのお茶目な
According to Mr. Carl Birchner, they may forget what you said, but they will not forget how you made them feel. As we explore more, we can all agree that being a teacher takes many courage, patience, and empathy for us to see our caterpillars to become a butterflies. And as for someone who dreams to be an effective teacher, we conducted an interview especially to the teachers that experienced the struggles and all the challenges of being in the profession for at least 5 years. And one of them is Mrs. Emma Ribiana. She's been in the field of teaching for 8 years. Mrs. Emma Ribiana teaches young learners, elementary students to be exact. When we ask her about all the challenges that she has been facing in the years of her teaching career, she admitted that being in a teaching profession entails a lot of effort, patience, and hard work, especially when you are teaching young children. She also highlighted some of her biggest challenges were children who don't have a proper guidance from unsupportive parents. Second is that the resources needed in the teaching and learning process. And lastly, the overloaded paperwork that the department gives. We also asked if she can at least give any advices or reminders to motivate those students who take education courses. And for her, in taking education courses, there is a saying that many are called but few are chosen. And if we just dissect the whole context, it simply implies that in taking this vocation, we must possess these characteristics. Number 1, dedication towards your work. Number 2, empathy to motivate your students to reach their own full potential. Number 3, a resilience to cope up with the environment. And lastly, is to love the children. Because the true nature of being a teacher, just by seeing your students' achievements, can change the feeling of being contented and being more proud of unleashing the quality of education. Thank you.
Angelica Basilio is my high school teacher. I called her as Ma'am Angke. So I asked her if I can interview her. So she said yes. And then she asked if the interview is by the link. No. And then I said that I will send it to her by a messenger. She said okay. And then the first question is, what branch of education do you belong to? And then she answered that secondary education. And the second question is, for how long have you been teaching? In a private school, she teach 4 years. In a public school, she is going to almost 10 years. Yeah, going to 10 years. And almost 14 years. And then the third question is, for someone in the profession of teaching, what are some of the biggest challenges that you have ever faced? And then she answered that teaching is really a noble profession. One must possess an endless patience and utmost care to students to really impart knowledge to students effectively. But still, challenges are part of teaching life, like the students' attitude towards learning and towards us teachers. If the student don't want change or don't want to learn at all, it really challenged me on how to convince and motivate them. Then he said, sabi nga teachers can either make or break students' life. So as a teacher, we should be really careful to the words we will utter to students. And another challenge that we mostly face in today's classroom situation is the lack of facilities and materials for teaching and learning process. Kaya walang yumayaman na teachers eh. Then she said that need namin maglabas pa ng own money to sustain our needs to deliver the lessons to students. And then I answered that. Thank you for your time, ma'am, and have a good night.